Olivia Howard was a 90-pound freshman at her high school. In the fall, she played soccer, and she was skilled enough to make the varsity team. Now, being 90 pounds, she's a lot smaller than the competition, and she usually got pushed around. And one time in particular, she fell down, and she landed on her wrist, thought she just had a broken wrist, and she got a cast, and she was like, I can be ready to play in a week or so. Like, I don't use my hands in soccer or whatever. But then, like, 3 days later, she started struggling with dizziness and how lights just hurt her eyes, and she went and took the concussion test, and she indeed, like, failed with, like, flying colors. Like, she failed, like, bad. And so she had a concussion, and doctors told her that one more concussion after this would probably be her career. And as a freshman in high school, is not something that you want to hear. I know that I wouldn't want to hear that. I read this in an article by Linda Flanagan on how students' brains are in danger on the field, and that was just a great article about stories like that, and it was actually a good read. Stories like this are happening too much now, and today I will talk to you about 3 ways to prevent, or why. The lack of proper equipment, rules are not being enforced, and lastly, players play with concussions. The lack of proper equipment, I think that helmets should fit. Age-appropriate gear, you shouldn't be wearing your brother's hand-me-downs that are way too big for you. And I think they should be worn correctly. You should have the right padding in your pants, right? For soccer, you have to wear your shin guards. You just need the right equipment. I know that it's hard to do that because the lack of money in a school or community, you can't just buy brand new helmets every year for your football team. You can't expect parents to do that. They're already paying enough for the sport. Sports are expensive. Another cause in the rise of concussions is that the rules aren't being enforced. We need to enforce the rules for fair play, safety, and just sportsmanship in general. We need to avoid letting players hit other players in the head on purpose. Using your head to tackle, I know in football, like when you tackle, you lead with your head, but we need to make sure that we're doing that in a safe way, like hit him with your shoulder or something. We can't be flying our head helmet to helmet and trying to injure another player. I know that I had a kid at my high school who went D1 in football, and every game it seemed like there was 5 kids trying to tackle him, and then another one, when he was already like down, would rush in and hit him again. And I think that as a official, you need to see that and not let that happen, because I think that's a little out of hand. Now, the scariest thought about all of this is that players play with concussions. 15% of athletes between the ages 5 and 18 say they get 1 concussion a year, or 15% of like the athletes get a concussion, and 69% of the athletes still play, and 40% of that said their coach knew. So that means 29% say that their coach knew about their concussion and still let them play. I don't think this can't happen. I mean, it is dangerous, and it can lead to many long-term effects, like how they can't concentrate, they have memory loss, they have personality changes, they get sensitive to like light and sound, and that can be very hard to live with. They can't sleep at night because their head is just pounding, and as Cade mentioned earlier in the week, it can lead to depression. Now, the NFL is trying to make rule changes. They met with teams in training camp about the new rule, and then their coaches passed it on to their players, and I think that is helping a lot. I know that if you watch football now, they're really cracking down on like protecting the quarterback, and some of them are like soft, but I think that what they're doing in total is a good idea, because it's trying to just protect the safety of the players that we all love to watch. They try to, basically the rule is like they're trying to prevent the hitting of defenseless players above the shoulders. In conclusion, concussions are rising in sports, and 3 things that could help is the proper equipment, the rules have to be enforced, and that players don't play with a concussion. I mean, I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but I guess that it's a big deal that, I mean, I know that if I got a concussion, I'd still want to play because I want to help my team, I want to play, I don't want to lose an opportunity, but I think people need to realize the severity of a concussion. Like, this is a big thing that's a lot of people are struggling with. So I think that if we do those 3 things, it will in turn start to reduce the number of concussions in sports today.